Let's go.
Welcome to the Soul Fam podcast, where we expand your personal universe. I'm Diana Marquetta, and in each episode, Soul Fam co-founder, co-creator Lexi Strummer-Solden and I interview the world's most rising and longtime experts in consciousness, spirituality, entertainment, healing, and science. From Earth's dimensions and dimensions way, way beyond. On the Soul Fam podcast, our frequencies are high and your heart chakras will open as these powerful voices of today share cutting-edge research, profound experiences, and valuable knowledge for your world in this out-of-this-world, thought-provoking, envelope-pushing interviews that could only take place right here on the Soul Fam podcast. Welcome to the Soul Fam podcast. I'm Diana Marquetta, and on today's episode, I have the great pleasure and honor of interviewing Marco Bazzi from the film Touched, which you will soon see in summer film festivals, and producer Mark Vadano, who created this film. And this is more than just a passion project. It is a fabulous film from what little I've seen so far that shows what it is to be neurodivergent through that individual's eyes and through that experience. Mark is entering his second career as a filmmaker, and fortunately Marco became a part of this as well. And I would love for the two of you to tell the story about Touched and how this all came together.
Sure. Well, I'll let Marco tell the story of Touched, but this relationship began about 4 years ago. Marco and I worked on our first film together. It was actually his film that I acted in. And so that's how our relationship started. And I had written this story and asked Marco if he would get involved with doing this project with me. And he, after some time helping to rewrite to write the script and do some edits together, he agreed. And so now we're working on this. And Marco, do you want to tell the story of Touched?
Well, maybe you start with the characters and everything, and then I jump in since it started from you.
Okay. So the story of Touched is really about the transformation of a grandfather and his granddaughter, and the transformation that his granddaughter makes in his life. He's been estranged from her for over 7 years. Her name is Angel, and Angel she does have special needs. She's neurodivergent, and unfortunately, her mother dies. I play the grandfather, so my daughter dies and her mother dies, and I'm the last in line to come take care of her. And so I have been estranged for 7 years. I have not seen her for that amount of time, for over that amount of time. And so I haven't grown up with her. And at the same time, so we're trying to develop our relationship. And at the same time, her behavioral therapist is trying to take emergency custody of Angel.
I see.
So we have that pressure and dynamic going on while Angel and I are trying to develop a relationship. And quite honestly, my name's Martin, as the character in the film. Martin he's really low on social skills. He's a boomer,
On advanced social skills, we might say.
Yeah, on advanced, yes. He just doesn't get it, right? And it's somewhat what we might experience on a day-to-day basis. If we're going out shopping and we see a kid having a meltdown, we might react to that and go, why can't you take control of your kid? Right. Shut it up. Get some discipline in. That's the way Martin kind of walks into this whole relationship, is like, hey, you know what? Deal with it. And it's that transformation that happens throughout the film. While we have this kind of pressure from Leah, the behavioral therapist, to take her away from me. Did I miss anything, Marco?
No, it sounds great.
So what I noticed, especially just in watching some of the clips from the film, Marco, is that you really brought out the characters, and you're very subtle in some of your direction, but it's very powerful in how these characters come to life. And I am immediately touched by Angel, even in just seeing a clip of it.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to hear that, because I think that was the main goal for me, my intention to tell the story in a, let's say, in a visceral way. So I wanted to kind of like feel it rather than talk about it, and that was like the most important thing throughout the whole film. So you will never have like characters talking about what about her, Angel, what she sees, what she's, but we want to see it. So it's like it literally would jump into her perspective. But that's true for every character, but especially the grandfather and Angel, because I also wanted to explore the grandfather. So I was interested to see like how this man that from, because they have like a similarity, the two characters, in different ways. Like they're both people that you can see in a certain way from the outside. You know, you see them and you have your own idea about that, but you do not know what's going on into their internal world. So we explore Angel's point of view, but we also explore Martin's point of view. This man that looks like angry, and it's just like you don't like him first, but you know what's behind that mask, you know, so the blame, the guilt, and why was he so distant to the family. And so I like to the idea of having those two characters, and at some point of life they just meet each other and they're the only thing that they have, like the only, you know, relatives, like, and so now they need to find a way to communicate. And I just thought like I wanted to find a way to feel that process rather than talk about it. Yeah.
Was that part of the writing that the two of you created as well? And even just the shots. I mean, I saw a lot of vulnerability with Martin that you might not see in a character like that.
Yes. Yeah. We definitely, that was like a big part of the rewriting, like giving these layers to the characters and to depth. I like that you say that you can see vulnerable parts, because the important thing in the film for me was also having moment where we see those characters alone, so they're not with other people. And so we have many moments where we see Martin alone in his daughter's room. We see Angel alone, so we kind of like we want to be in that room with them, and so we see something that maybe is not showing up right when Martin is next to Leah, the therapist, or even next to Angel. Just there's something that clicks when you are completely alone by yourself.
Right. It does make you feel as though you're in the room with them, that I'm in that, whether Martin's laying on the couch with his head back and he's facing so much frustration, or Angel's sitting up against the wall sobbing on the stairwell. You know, there's a part of you that feels like you're in the room with them.
Yes. I that was the idea. And I think there are like a couple of things in the film that so definitely it was important for me to tell the story from the point of view of the character. And when I say that, I think there are like a couple of different layers. When I say point of view, I mean literally point of view, so actually being, but also perspective, which is different. So it's like, so in those cases, you know, we are maybe in the room with the characters, so we are kind of leaving the perspective, but then we literally like go inside and we see what they see, and whether if it's like and we play with that. Like sometimes it's uncomfortable, sometimes it's more comfortable, but you know, in the case of Martin, we see the dreams that is living. So, and I thought that was like a very interesting thing to explore, having the point of view of Angel, what she sees and what how her mind works, and the things that she imagines, as opposed to Martin's dreams. So it's like he sees those uncomfortable stuff in a surreal world, like dreaming, but she is she's awake and she has the same uncomfortable. So it's kind of like having that link to understand, like yeah, you might see this person like detached from outside, from your perspective, but inside, you know, all those things are happening, and you know, they're uncomfortable. And so having the link between those two characters, that they're kind of living similar things, but one in an awake life and the other one like more dreaming.
It's really interesting perspectives. Is that, when you wrote this, Mark, was that part of the goal? And I really want to talk about how you don't talk about things in the script. It's not blatantly obvious Well, it is blatantly obvious when you really watch the film, but it's not necessarily a forced thing to understand. This is a story about an estranged grandfather and granddaughter who is neurodivergent. So, and we talk a lot about neurodivergence here on the podcast, whether it's ADHD or autism or whatever it might be, whatever, even traumas and addictions, whatever you're facing. So why was that approach important to you? Or was that just sort of something you felt, or it happened naturally when you were writing the script?
Well, the story in the first script, honestly, was very Hallmark. It was flat. I mean, and you just heard Marco give a very beautiful description of how, I love hearing him talk about it, right? The way he he wants to convey this story, and it's very visual, and you can hear, kind of see it in your own head. And Marco brought the brilliance to the script. I mean, you can see why I was like, I want you to work on this. Because it was, the script was flat. It was very Hallmarky. Marco helped write the layers of each character, kind of that kind of giving me each a backstory, and whether we show it or not explicitly in the film. He figured out what elements would be right to bring in and what was just a backstory. But basically, he added all the onion, to the script. He gave us a lot of different layers. So it wasn't the original intention at all. It was the original intention was to tell a very beautiful story about a transformation between the grandfather or his granddaughter being able to transform his life and kind of give him a second chance in life that he didn't have with his daughter. So that was the original intent of the story, but Marco gave it, now when you sit down, you want to watch it, right? You're not there just to experience this beautiful story. You're actually now engaged in the story.
Exactly.
That's what Marco brought to that, to the whole script writing and the storytelling.
That's so interesting because you really do experience it.
Angel, do you know how much I love you?
How can you tell if somebody loves you?
We commit her body to the ground, earth to earth, ashes to ashes.
Something happened, but it's not her fault.
Dust to dust. I haven't been around the past few years, and I'm not proud of that. But I am here now, and I want to take care of my granddaughter.
Angel is a teenage girl with special needs. What?
I said you could come over here for dinner. I didn't say you could help me raise my family.
He may be her grandfather, but he doesn't know anything about her, and I believe him to be dangerous for her.
I was just trying to get her to eat something!
My mother always gives me 3/4 cup of water every night. That's not 3/4 cup.
I don't know what happened between you and your family, but whatever feelings come your way, you're gonna have to face them right now.
He brought tragedy to their family.
I didn't do the right thing when I left. I should have stayed with you and your mother. It's all my fault.
You were good with her, Martin.
I don't know if that's enough.
It's time to let me go.
Let's hit the road. My mother asked me if I knew that she loved me.
What's your name?
Angel Hester, what's yours? Someone who loves you will do things for you that make you happy, no matter if it is hard or uncomfortable for them.
I love you so much.
You immediately become part of it. So you start experiencing it as you're watching it. So how long did you two work this out script-wise?
I'm like, okay, no problem. I just want to act. You get all creative direction. I just want to act. And so then we started going through the pre-production stuff, right? Like, okay, so we're going to need this and we're going to need this. And it's going to be you get a rough budget. I think you just wanted to make sure I had enough money to make sure we got this thing done. But anyway, we get through that, right? And for about a month and a half. So Marco takes the script, he starts writing in these different elements, and we talk through them, make some adjustments, and we're going back and forth that way for about a month and a half. And I get together, he's like, yeah, I think we just need one more kind of, day to just really make sure that this is all meshing. And so I said, okay, well, I'll come down to you and we'll spend a day. And so I drive down to 29 Palms, which is where Marco's at, and he's got a migraine all day long, but we're plowing through this for like 10 hours. And he goes, okay, I think I'm good with this now. I think, yeah, I can do this. And I said, Marco, wait a minute. We've been working on this for almost 2 months. You're just now committing. He said, oh, well, I told you I needed to make it a mine. And then I feel good now. I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay. I thought we were all in.
What if he had said, no, I'm not really into this at this point. Thanks, but no.
Yeah, I don't know what would have happened after that, honestly. I'm not sure. Because as far as I was concerned, after that day that we met at the cabin doing the budget, we were going forward on this thing. So, but to Marco's point, his thing is, look, I know me, and I'm not just going to be filming this thing and then walking away. I'm going to be all in, which he has. I mean, he edited the whole thing himself, which was a huge bonus because
job.
now our director is going to be editing it. So he kind of sees it in his head or is editing it in his head as we're shooting. So we're getting just what we need or what he feels like we need, which helps cut down on the production time and we needed that because we had some challenges in this thing. But, that's kind of how the story happened after a couple months of going back and forth. And then you start dialing in all the rest of the stuff, right? Marco put together a schedule. We started talking about, casting and who we're going to hire on, from a team standpoint. So from May to then the first shot day was the beginning of September. That's the time it took us to kind of write the script, get the production stuff going, pre-production stuff going, and get into production.
Let's talk a little bit about the challenges, because this is not a studio film. This is, I don't want to say it's bootstrapped, but this is really from your own heart and soul.
Yeah. And the goal has always been to make a movie that looks like it was $1 million budget or more.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's not $1 million, but we both believe it looks like it is. Or that was the budget. So one of the challenges, the biggest challenge, I think, I would caution anyone that wants to film in California just because of all the permits you have to have.
It's ridiculous.
Whether you're $1 million. What's that?
It's ridiculous. No matter what you do, it's very hard to film in California.
It's tough, and we're a small crew and cast. We're not 100 people deep. I mean, I can understand, I guess, to some extent, if you were that big of a production crew. No special effects or anything like that, So that was a challenge. And then you throw in on top of that we had the Highland fires 2 days 2 days after we started filming. And even before that, from a scary kind of financial standpoint as the executive producer, I had been in a career for 30 years doing hospitality marketing. And the 3 days before we start filming, my boss calls me in. I've been with him for 30 years. He's like, hey, man, I got to tell you, I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep the doors open. I got to adjust your package. And so I went down to like 25% of what I was making before. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, here we go. This is, universe is saying, you're not testing this thing out. This is what you're going to be doing. So it slams me into that. And then our schedule gets really messed up from the fires.
Of course.
So then we have to move everything around, including the permits. Well, you've got these fires going on, so no one in city is really working. And so now we're trying to get ourselves as much space in between Big Bear up in the mountains, Big Bear, as much space between the fires and us having to go there to film, which was the chunk of our filming, 10 days out of 18.
Oh, wow.
So there was that part. And for whatever reason, the theme, have that going on, and we're trying to reschedule. And then the theme is like cars for some reason. My car breaks down during pre-production, going to Marco's in 29 Palms during the summertime. His car the battery goes dead when we're filming. Our director of photography drove out from Kansas City, brought about like over 1,000 pounds of equipment, put in a trailer, and as he's going down the mountain to go to 29 Palms, his brakes go completely out. And by the luck of the universe, or by the grace of the universe, and Marco was in the truck. I mean, last hairpin turn. I'm getting the story secondhand.
Yeah, no, you're like.
No, I hate those hairpin turns. Trust me, I know them well.
Nick and I always say we almost died together. So there is a bond there. Like we are,
right. Because the last hairpin turn, they make it. That's when the brakes are going completely out, and luckily there's a straightaway after that, and they're able to coast. His brakes were out, like gone, burnt out, because he was laying on him as he was going down with 1,000 pounds.
With all the weight.
But so that, and then we find out that the trailer actually had a bracket underneath and the suspension that was broken. It's just like, oh my gosh, by the grace, right? And so when we had, now this, he came out from Kansas City. He was going to be driving back with this trailer to Kansas City. We had the bracket that was getting repaired, and the guy says, oh man, that tire on that side is about ready to blow out. You're lucky that it didn't. Oh my gosh. He was going to be, not that it could have blown out on the highway too, going down the hill, but also he's trying to drive back to Kansas City after this, So anyway, there's a car thing. And then just at all this stress, but everything just keeps working out. We need it, the fire's finally back off, and it's just in time for us to get up there, and not really, we only lost a day of filming.
Oh, wow.
Our permits, that we needed for the marina, because if we didn't get that shot, everybody's going home, and then wintertime comes, nothing matches, so we would have had to wait till next year to finish this thing. Our permit comes the day before we need it to be able to film that last shot at the lake. So there's that, and then we're filming in a theater, and that's in a place where they have plays and stuff, and before the play they do magic tricks outside, right? And that's one of our sets outside of the theater. And I hear this, oh my gosh, Mark, jeepers, oh my, what is that? And I don't have my glasses, and I'm looking at the ceiling. I'm thinking, wow, that looks like kind of a big bug. And we had a scorpion on set at Marco's place before that. So I'm thinking, right. Oh my gosh, big bugs now that are the theme. And I look up, and it's actually a playing card, like the 9 of diamond or spades or something. That's why it looked like a bug, because it was just black, right? And so I look up, and the trick is somebody pulls a card out. I know the trick. So they pull a card out, they put their name on it, goes back on the deck. The magician throws the cards at the ceiling, and a card sticks up with your name on the one that you wrote on, right? That's the trick. So I look up, on one card, it says Raven. Well, Raven is the mother's name in our movie. It's not a common name in the first place. You don't hear a bunch of Ravens out there. It's not like, Kathy or something. So that's on there. And then another card with another name with Nick. It's spelled N-I-C-K, but still our director of photography is Nicholas, right?
Oh,
Nick.
Interesting.
And so it's just like, that was just another divine sign to say you're on the right track. Because at one point in time, Nick, our director of photography, was like, Mark, the universe is just, just making sure that that this is what you want to do.
Right.
So
to put it mildly. Just
hang in there, that. Yeah. There were some challenges, and we're now at the end of those challenges.
Well, hopefully, yes. And you did do this in 18 days, which is a short time to achieve a feature film.
Yeah, also, if you consider there's a lot of traveling involved, it's not only one location. So we shot in mostly, the story is set in, and never say in the film, we never mention the name of the city or the place or
right.
So, but
that was my faux pas. I wasn't supposed to say where we shot it.
Well,
we should.
I don't necessarily, because I recognize some of the places, but it feels like it could be anywhere. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's easy to relate to the locations as well.
Yeah.
Even though I sort of sense where they probably were.
I think it's like I don't know. I think it was a general thing for me, like not mentioning really anything. Like as I said before, the characters are not talking about Angel. In the same way, we're not talking about the place, because I wanted to have everything really. I don't want it to have labels. So that sometimes when we watch something and we have a name, we have the need to label and to put things in the boxes. And I didn't want to do that. So I just wanted to see characters and feel characters without like really put them in the box. Going back. So we shot like in a mountain. We shot in the desert. We shot in Los Angeles because of so first we arranged everything to do with sense, like maybe 1 week in the desert, 1 week in Los Angeles, 1 week consecutive. But because of the fire, we had to rearrange everything, and it became a puzzle. Literally a puzzle. So we were just like 2 days here, then go there, and so it was a huge challenge to do that in 18 days. But we didn't give up, and we made it. So it's definitely a good thing. So I'm proud of it.
Well, one of the other things, Dan, I just remembered that was a little bit of a sign from the universe was we had struggled to find a school to shoot.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
what do you mean?
Permits, and then schools. Don't try to do either one of those in California. I mean,
they are hard to get. Yes.
Oh my! And if you can, it's so expensive. I'm like, don't I already pay for this in my taxes? I don't. Okay. $4,500 for a day kind of a thing.
Wow.
Yeah. Because you got to have security and this and that. Blah, blah.
Right.
Anyway, so we found a church that had a school.
Oh.
The pastor was fantastic. And there was an old sign there that had like, here's where this AA's, Alcoholic Anonymous meeting is over there in this building. There's this service over here in this building. So it's like 8 listings. And one of the things that was on the sign was autism awareness or something like that, a class 111. So and a little bit of an angel sign there.
Yes.
And so I was like, oh, Pastor, this is what a coincidence. One of our characters is neurodivergent. He said, yeah, we haven't had that for about a year. We just haven't taken it down for some reason. So just another, I'm like, okay, another sign that we're on the right track. The school that we finally found. And what are the odds of this? So kind of.
That's amazing. Beautiful. I want to talk about Angel and how did you find, filming with, I assume she's under the age of 18. So filming with children is not easy, not because they're children, but there's certain laws that, you have to respect and follow when you're engaged in filming. She does a very powerful performance. So I'm curious to know, one, how you guys sort of handled working with someone under the age of 18, following that within the context of getting the filming done from a logistical standpoint. And then how did you find her? She's an amazing actor.
So we opened the cast to anybody. So it's just like we didn't work with agencies or something that already give us like, you should do this, you should do that. So it's like anybody. So it's like anybody
backstage and Actors Access and some of the other, open casting.
Yeah. And
cool.
And again, we approached that without like expectations, or we just wanted to find the right fit and someone that was willing to commit to the film, the character, and push the boundaries. And so when we saw her audition, it was impressive. So we had a meeting, and then we decided to move forward on a technical level. So on a bureaucracy, it happens that she's not underage.
Oh, I see. Okay.
We didn't know.
Excellent.
But that, that's definitely because, as you mentioned, I also my previous film, so working with kids, it's complicated because the rules and everything, you have to have like a studio teacher on set or the parents, but we didn't have to go through that this time. So it just happened to be the perfect one for the role and not under 18. So.
And I'm sorry, what's the actor's name again?
Cassie Earle.
Cassie Earle. Very cool. And did she have a lot of previous experience acting, or and how did
Angel. But it's not her fault.
Not really. That's the other thing that for me, I mean, now I'm talking for myself usually. So if when we cast, I'm not really paying so much attention to the reels, or I don't care if someone doesn't have, many movies before or worked with, in big production, big directors, as long as they are right for what we're looking for. That's good to me. And also, sure, we did auditions, but the most important thing for me is like having a conversation and see if we're on the same page. So to be honest, I don't even remember her reel, so I can't really answer that question because probably I didn't even watch it. Like I just saw the tape, and then we talked, and we had a couple of meetings, and for me that was enough, And it was like, yeah, I think we're good, and that's the same for the other actors too. I mean, even happens that someone applied, for example, for a small role. Just one day, and once I talked to them and I saw them, and I just moved them to the real lead role.
Oh, wow.
So it's really up to, for me, it's like the beautiful thing is like it's a process. It's always like moving, so it's like you can have like your expectations, your idea, your need, but then when actually starts working on it and you deal with people and you have the dynamics, like you gotta be open to kind of shift and change your initial thoughts and go with the flow,
It's beautiful.
One of the other fantastic castings that we ended up getting was Jesse, who is Angel's kind of romantic interest,
right.
if you will, right? And he actually applied as a background. We just could not find the right person for Jesse, the right balance, the person that we liked. And yet he had a great look. So we're like, oh, you know what? Let's see if he wants to do it. He did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
And this is his first production that he's done. Super excited. And he just knocked it out of the park.
That is so cool. I only saw a tiny bit of that relationship starting to unfold, and that's very enchanting. I'm curious. I'm super excited now. I want to know a little more about that relationship and how that unfolds in the movie.
Yeah.
There's a special moment with them. Yeah. We can't wait. That's all we can say.
We have to watch the film.
You have to watch the film.
That's cool. Very cool. I mean, there's a tapestry that goes on in this film that's really magical and beautiful and engaging. Mark, was this what you thought it was going to be?
Oh, it surpassed what I thought it was going to be. I mean, I tell Marco every, at least I hope I tell him enough, hopefully from the beginning, it is all him. I mean, I had the idea, but he's made it so that it's remarkable from all aspects. The storytelling, the way it's pieced together to tell that story from a visual standpoint that I couldn't see in my head, but he can see in his head. The way he worked with Nicholas James, our director of photography. And, they had hours and hundreds of hours of meetings without me on them. Thank goodness. Just talking through every single thing and trying to to plan so that we could have this fast launch, even from we know we're going to go into color and these are the colors that we want to try and achieve at the final. So we're going to do paint the rooms this color. I mean, just everything from start to finish. Right. Wow. It exceeds any kind my dog is weaseling his way in here.
He's cute.
Sorry. So, far surpasses what I thought.
What about you, Marco?
Yeah, I'm really happy about the result because it was an intense process, and what that is why going back of what Mark was mentioning before when we had that moment of rewriting and I wasn't committed 100% yes is because I would say like for me if I do something I know myself I commit 100% and it's not going to be like 2 weeks 3 weeks, it's going to be 2 years of your life, so
yeah.
You want to feel it and so I'm very proud about what we put together. And, that was like also a combination of great people that we found on the way because you can't do everything, I mean, that's the most important thing. So it's like we found people that were committed, that dedicated, and from the cast and the super small crew. Mark was mentioning the Nicholas James is, a fantastic cinematographer that we kind of like developed this relationship way before the filming because as Mark said, we talked a lot to try to have clear ideas of how to film on set, what we needed, the way we need it. And with that feeling, we were talking a lot, we were bouncing ideas, for example, it was, as I said, it was very, very important for me to tell the story from the perspective and point of view and explore that more than telling the story, exploring. When I say and so talking about that, like it was Nick that bounced back with this idea about like, how about like using those specific lenses for her point of view and I didn't know about those lenses. So he made, some tests and sent it over. So we talked and as soon as I saw it, it's like, whoa, yeah, that's it, Nick, because they have like this beautiful, like hyper focus on details and the natural, like out of focus that you can actually move is not just fixed and static. So the idea that was like done on camera on set and not in post-production, for me that was beautiful because I was always saying to Nick, so I want to do this like without fear. So it's like let's take a risk. I like the fact of not being safe. Like sometimes you shoot things in different ways. So if this doesn't work, you use the other one. So it's like, no, let's commit to one thing that's going to be the one. So we don't have like alternatives. So that's the way. And the whole process that we did, was finding a way to capture those things, but
Mm-hmm.
in a grounded way. I really wanted to feel like that it's real, and it's not like even the surreal stuff. Like
Mm-hmm.
we wanted to find a look that it was like accessible, that we can feel and see as real and perceive as real. And so we went through all those things, and so in the end, I'm very happy about the result, because we did the best we can with what we had, and came out a lot.
It's cool. I appreciate you bringing that up, because that's one of the enchanting parts of the film, is that I see it from her eyes.
Yeah.
I see it from her emotions.
Yeah.
And that's not something you did in post-production. That's something you did while filming, which is a whole other accomplishment.
Do you know how much I love you? I love you so much.
Yeah, we literally had like Angel's camera. So it's like it was a different camera, different lenses. And so every scene we were like, okay, now let's get Angel's camera. So we were like doing the scene from her point of view, and literally holding the camera. So Nick was like moving the camera and holding it like in the way that she was looking at things, and actually Cassie was next to him or behind him, like really following that process. So it's it was and we all got used to it. Maybe it was weird at first, at the first day, say the other actors, whenever we use the Angel's point of view, you got to look at the lens, that's Angel's eyes, and after a few days it became like normal to everybody, like just like act with the camera.
Yeah, it's an amazing, interesting technique. It draws you further and further into the film and into the character.
Yeah, and to Marco's point too, Diana, I'm sorry to jump in.
No.
This film, at any point in time, with all the stuff that was going on and how hectic it was, and to Marco's point, how many times we moved, and the first days was the heat wave of summer too, 115 degrees. So we're in places where you can't turn on the air conditioning because of sound. We're moving in the heat like that. I mean, it was, and then we have all these problems, and anyone at any point in time could have said, this is way too much for me. You're not paying me enough to do this, man. I got to go. Right.
Yeah.
And no one did. This movie could not have been made without the other actors' commitments, without crew's commitments. There's just no way. Marco and I were in 100%.
Sure.
I don't think either one of us would have ever thrown up our hands, but anyone else could have at any time with all the stress that everybody was under. Hats off to them.
Yeah, it was definitely meant to be. Let's talk about how's the world going to come to see this film?
Good question.
That's the $100,000 question. Well, as Marco said, we're in the final stages of the post. It will be. We will be sending it out. We've already sent it out to a couple festivals for review to see if we can get in. Kind of last minute. We'll see. But certainly, we're patriotfilming.com. Patriot, like the patriotfilming.com. We'll have updates on it. If it comes out, we'll let people know if they want to sign up there. We can let people know that, and all they need to do is have their email. When it's, what festivals it's going to be shown at, because that's one way of seeing it during those screenings. And then the reality is from there, it needs to be distributed somehow. So whether that happens through a film festival where somebody might purchase it or purchase the distribution rights, whether we get a distributor on our own outside of the festival or as we're doing festivals. And then the final, kind of the final would be after you kind of exhaust all those things, even a theater run, which we might do as a limited release on our own, pending. Basically, the communication vehicle will be to sign up at patriotfilming.com so we can let people know what's going on. But it's going to get out there through festivals and then some kind of distribution at the end, most likely at the end of the year. So,
and we can get involved in this film, correct? We can help contribute and be a part of this film.
Yes. As easy as getting us the email in case, they want to get tickets later on, or we have a fundraising program, a crowdfunding program on Indiegogo.
Awesome.
Indie, like indie films, go-go, like go-go dancer, I guess. I don't know how they came up with that name. Indiegogo. And it's under Touch the Movie. So there's different levels and perks. And we just had an executive producer sign up last night.
Which is awesome. Yeah, beautiful.
So, then you get your digital tickets, or we'll get you tickets when it comes out, and you get a signed script. There's those kinds of things. So, but yeah, at minimum, just having your email through Patriot Filming to be able to keep in contact with you as this gets some momentum going behind it. But financially, if people want to help with the post-production stuff, because there's a gap there a little bit,
Yep.
you can go to Indiegogo.
That's awesome.
Under the movie Touched.
Do you have a feeling, or do both of you have a feeling or a sense of responsibility to share a film about not only a relationship between a grandfather and granddaughter, but as a society struggling to understand and accept one another in our various states of neurodivergence, ADHD, or even an emotional sort of recovery, regaining our sense of commitment to one another in a relationship or a sense of connection, at least in relationship.
Yeah, well, there's my personal connection with the story is, I had a good friend in school who was neurodivergent. I mean, back then we used a different term because, I'm an old fart. So, but
and what was that term, Mark?
Actually, back then we would call them retarded. And that's kind of where the title of the movie came from as well, is we had that in there as Martin, just to show how disconnected Martin was from, just reality in general. And then later on in my life, that merged to Touched. So you wouldn't say, that was the politically correct version of that back in the late 70s, early 80s, right? Martin corrects himself, and this is in the first round. Martin corrects himself and says that Angel is touched. And so when Marco said, look, you know what? This is a story, just a story. We don't need to talk about what's going on with Martin. We need to let the audience feel that. We don't need to talk about what Angel's going on with Angel. We just need the audience to feel that. And I said, well, okay, Marco, we don't have any reference to Touched in the script anymore. Do you want to change the title? And he said, no, I like it. I think it's still
the title because for me, Touched, I did it clearly also because English is not my language, so I didn't know this backstory, For me, Touched had different meaning, so I like that, and I like the double meaning. So I like, for instance, Touched that could be moved, right? So, and there's a lot of moving things in the film, like on different perspectives. So I like that. It's physical touch is so it's like has a many layers. So I'm like, yeah, let's leave that, and even if we removed everything on the script, and because again, going back to that and to your question, the responsibility that I feel in general is not just about that. I think as a filmmaker, you always feel a certain kind of responsibility of how you put the story out, no matter what, just like every character, everything. So for me, I talked to a lot of people and especially one specific consultant, but there's so much what you can call the spectrum and everything. So many things. It's like you can't tell a story that it's gonna cover everything, because they're so different. So that's why I like to say, for me, so I don't want to mention that. I don't want to say that it's a story about that, but it's a story about the person, and that's why I wanted to remove all the labels, because once I put a label on, automatically my brain starts like to, okay, so if it's really that kind of specific thing, that means that then it has this is it, this is it, and you just lose. You try to describe things and instead of like living them and feeling them. And for me, it was much more powerful to tell a story that I don't where I don't have those labels, but that goes every way. So when we look at someone, when we deal with someone, so we see them with always from our perspective, and so we judge what we think that they're feeling, living, or whatever, just from their appearance or the way they're behaving, but we don't know their world inside. So, and that is the most interesting thing that I wanted to explore, to say, like, to have both sides, like, okay, so we see these people in a way, but we don't know what's on the other side. And that's the responsibility that you're talking about. So the hope that can bring awareness in that sense. It's like a remove judgments, and labeling.
Yeah. And for me, it was my personal, I self-stimulated as a kid. from an infant stage. My mom said I would get up on all fours and rock my head into the headboard. And so when she took me to the doctors, I was born in 62, so I was probably, 63, right? Let's just say old enough to be in a crib knocking your head against the headboard. She took me to the doctor. The doctor said, "Oh, don't worry about it. He'll grow out of it," which growing out of it for me meant I adapted as I got older. And instead of rocking my head against the headboard, I was rocking myself to sleep, or I was banging my head against the pillow, or banging my head against a seat or something, love being in a rocking chair, that kind of a thing. And so, I've always had this curiosity kind of in the back of my head of like, well, what if I would have been taken in today? What would have happened to me? Would they have put me in a drug program? Would they have put me in this box? What would that kind of path take me down? So, in reality, my friend that I had in school who would go, "You always are so nice to me, Mark." And I'm thinking, well, we're not really that different. If you knew that I was banging my head against my pillow at night, it was. So that's kind of my personal connection with the story, just to go, there's a lot of questions out there, and I have them, often, like, why is this going on, and what would have happened to me, kind of a thing, So, and then I think the story also just brings up this natural question of, if I knew that the rest of my life I have to take care of, or not have to, but I'm taking care of my reality is I'm taking care of my child for the rest of my life.
Right.
What happens when I'm gone? Who is going to take care of my child? It doesn't matter how old they are, they're still your child. And the reality is you're going to most likely outlive them. What happens? And I think that that's, in a subtle way, you start thinking about that maybe at some point throughout this film, like, oh, yeah, what happens when that caretaker, the mom or dad, is gone? I think our responsibility is just to provide a compelling story that at the end of the day, somebody walks out and starts asking questions.
Yeah, and also that that kind of the constant need that we have sometimes as people. We believe that our belief system, what we know is the thing that has to be is the right thing to do. So in this case, like Martin walks in and he has this situation, and it's like, this has to be in my way. So I control her, and so he's not realizing that there's a whole other world and perspective, and so that the transitional thing is like a kind of understanding Angel, and that she's the fact that he doesn't get it, that it doesn't mean that it's not right or real, and he's stubborn about his and so that's what we do sometimes, it's my way, and so it's like a process of like welcoming like a new perspective and understanding that, and having that exchange, that is like, that for me is one of the most beautiful thing, actually, like having that type of relationship.
It makes you pause. The movie makes you pause and think and reflect.
I hope so.
And feel.
Yeah, I hope so too. Yeah, that would be a good sign.
Is there anything I've missed about this? Anyone you want to thank or mention, or anything in particular about Touched that you feel the audience should know or embrace?
Well, I think, again, so we talked about like the amazing people that we worked with, cast, crew, and everything. I think it's I just want to say this, like, that this is a movie made with, it's true, so it's made with the real intention. So like people that worked on it worked with dedication because they believed in what we're doing and the story. So none of the people that were on set with us or worked with us like did it just with an agenda. So and I think that is what I believe, that you can feel this in the film. And so my hope is that people can approach the film with an open mind, with no judgmental, but just having this story, coming to them. And then, as you said, like pause, if it creates a moment after that to pause and reflect, whether it feels like good or something bad, or comfortable or uncomfortable, but reflect, that's a good sign to me. So that's what I hope.
What about you, Mark?
I would mirror the thoughts that Marco has just stated. We've talked about it. We really don't want to have somebody come out and go, either be extremely moved one side or the other. I really hated it, or I really loved it. But we don't want the in between. And we think we've given enough dynamic in the movie itself from visual, all the way around.
Thank you for watching this far in the video. I hope you enjoy the movie Touched. It's a genius sort of film by director, writer Marco Bazzi and producer, writer, and actor Mark Vedano. It's a genius sort of film that covers neurodiversity in a very different kind of way. We covered neurodiversity in the Soul Fam podcast, as well as tarot and aliens and angels and all sorts of wonderful things, because I strongly feel that neurodiversity and spirituality, or higher elements of frequency and our brain development and mind development, is adjacent to neurodiversity, that perhaps it's one and the same or it's related nonetheless. So we've been covering it lately because of that particular connection. I don't have the science to prove it, but it certainly feels that way. So I hope you love Touched. It will be in a film festival soon near you, or perhaps streaming if the right distribution deal is struck. Please contribute to the Indiegogo page of Touched. I will list it here in the description below. And please continue to like and subscribe the Soul Fam podcast. Your liking and subscribing makes a big difference to bring powerful voices of today's psychic, tarot, aliens, angels, neurodiversity, entertainment, science, and things from galaxies way, way beyond to you. Your involvement, your curiosity is so welcomed by the Soul Fam podcast, and we appreciate you and wish the very, very best for you in every aspect of your life. Please continue to like and subscribe, and have a fabulous week. Word for our sponsors, Oweli Supplements and CBD Pure, both whom have generously offered to give you 15% off using the SoulFam podcast coupon code SOULFAM, SOULFAM, and free shipping. And trust me, when you're ordering stuff like this, it actually really adds up. You can save quite a bit of money, several dollars for every order. Both Lexi and I have worked with these products and their companies, and we have firsthand experience, and we really like these companies, sincerely. Oweli, OWELI.com, is a supplement company that uses natural ingredients based on ancient knowledge coupled with modern science, which sounds a lot like the Soul Fam podcast. I am a huge supplement person. I take multiple supplements each day. The quality of Oweli supplements is high and effective, in my opinion. I take Move for joint health because I work out almost every day. I do yoga, I walk, I hike, I ride horses. And secondly, I mix collagen, peptides, hydrolyzed protein for a protein shake every day so I can be sure to get the right amount of protein in my body every day. And for women, I personally feel that's super important. CBD Pure, www.cbdpure.com, is made with non-GMO hemp grown without herbicides, pesticides, and other dangerous chemicals. Both Lexi and I feel like this is a stellar product. I use the CBD Pure 500 cream for pain in my neck from texting and working at a computer and a car accident I was in. Lexi uses CBD Pure Pet Health to help some of her posse of rescued cats who show up at her doorstep. They often have joint issues and other movement issues, and this product really seems to help Lexi's cats. Both products work superbly. No harmful side effects, at least from our experience. So once again, we thank our sponsors, CBD Pure and Oweli Supplements. We'll post links to both product lines on our Instagrams on my link tree and on YouTube and on our upcoming website, Patreon. Just remember the code for 15% off with free shipping, which once again adds up to a lot, is SOULFAM, SOULFAM. That's SOULFAM for our SOULFAM.